All right. Well, the president's order covers roughly 100 million workers across the nation. And as a result, the Republican National Committee is now suing the Biden administration over these mandates. Joining us now to talk about the lawsuit is the RNC national spokesperson, Dennard. Paris, good to talk with you tonight, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the president's saying bring it on. I know the case hasn't been filed yet, but can you give me a basis for your lawsuit?
Look, as soon as President Biden and the Department of Labor and OSHA and everyone puts out the ruling, our fantastic lawyers, our legal team who I spoke to before coming on your program today, are confident that we are going to examine it. And if we find anything in there that is unconstitutional, that infringes upon the rights of the American people, we will file a lawsuit and challenge them and hold this administration accountable. Because ultimately what we know on the front end is that what the Biden administration is doing with these vaccine mandates far exceeds the government's powers given to it in the Constitution, which does not have a provision for these type of police powers on states and private companies. This should be allowed for states to do, not the federal government imposing its will and mandates on private enterprises. The Constitution does not give the federal government that authority under the enumerated powers in the Constitution. And so there's a challenge that we're going to file. We're going to wait for the ruling to come out. If we find it, we're going to file and hold them accountable.
It's pretty interesting because Biden, while campaigning, said up until December he was not going to impose any mandates. And then, well, here we are in September, and we now have a mandate.
Let me help you out. Joe Biden lied to the American people. It's plain and simple. And this is why there's a high level of distrust, and his poll numbers are tanking because the American people no longer have faith and trust in this president. He lied about the mask mandates. He said he wasn't going to do it. Jen Psaki said it was not the federal government's authority to do so. And here we are with these draconian policies. In the clip that you played, he said he was disappointed in Republican governors. I wish you would express that same disdain for and disappointment in governors like Gavin Newsom, who imposed draconian mandates and said that churches were essential. Churches were not essential, but strip clubs were essential, who put mask mandates on people and said, you have to mask up, while he took his mask off and partied on. You know, he should have held Gavin Newsom accountable for the things that he did and his failure of leadership. That's why this recall election on September 14th is going to show that, once again, another Democrat governor can be recalled. I went to Pepperdine University and worked on the campaign to get rid of Gray Davis. It can be done, and it can happen, and it will happen again on the 14th when the people of California come out to the polls.
Yeah, I believe Biden is going to come out and campaign with Governor Newsom on the Monday before, even though we have mail-in ballots, so I question the timing on that. But, you know, my co-anchor was just speaking to an attorney about rights for these businesses, private businesses, public businesses, federal agencies, and the sort. And it almost seemed like this mandate is bringing about question upon question. Who's going to be responsible for paying for the time? Who's going to be responsible for paying for the potential lawsuits? Are you also looking into that potential with this filing that you're going to be doing?
Oh, absolutely. Everything is on the table for this because we're going to fight for the American people. And then let me just pause and say this. It is absolutely shameful that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris think that it's the appropriate time to campaign for Gavin Newsom while we have Americans stranded in Afghanistan at the mercy of the Taliban. There's a time and place for everything. If Gavin Newsom wasn't afraid that he was going to lose this election, he would say, you know what? I need you all to focus on the American people. I need you to focus on Afghanistan. I need you to focus on the border. Do not come and campaign for me. I got it. He's running scared. He knows that there are good Republicans out there who are going to do a far better job leading the state than he is. It is a shame that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are taking time away from their duty to get those Americans back home by campaigning for somebody who's led the state like Gavin Newsom in such a poor fashion.
You know, they've tried to label this a Republican recall, which that's not what it is, according to Ballotpedia. So there's been a lot of cross party lines, Democrats, independents, libertarians, you name it, everybody signing on for the recall. Do you feel with this lawsuit potentially against the Biden administration, do you feel that even though you're the RNC, that you may get some support across the aisle from businesses that are saying, no, this isn't manageable for us?
Well, the reason why the Republican National Committee has been engaged in other lawsuits to help and fight for the American people is because that's our job, standing up and fighting for the American people in the face of such failed leadership and weak leadership that we see in Joe Biden and on the failed leadership that we see in Gavin Newsom. And so we are going to make sure that if there's anything in that rule change, anything in these mandates and edicts that are coming out of the Biden administration, we're going to push and fight it in court and hold them accountable. But you know what? The American people, the people of California, Republicans, independents, Democrats, blacks, whites, Hispanics, poor, middle class, wealthy, they all feel how bad it is under Gavin Newsom's leadership. So that's why this is not just a Republican-led effort. All of Californians are coming together and say, you know what? Gavin Newsom has put us at the top of all the wrong lists. Top when it comes to poverty, top when it comes to homelessness, second highest in the nation when it comes to, the unemployment. Crime last year, homicides were up by 31%. There's a mass exodus to Texas and other Republican states because it is bad for business in California. You don't hear about all these companies coming to California. You hear about all these companies and businesses leaving California because Gavin Newsom is one of the worst governors in history, especially for California. So that's why it's not just a Republican-led effort. This is a unifying effort. So when Republicans, independents, and Democrats and small business owners hear Joe Biden talk about forcing vaccinations upon them and fining them if they don't respond in kind to their mandates, and saying that if you go to a large entertainment venue, he's pushing them to force them to have a vaccine passport in order to gain entry, it's discriminatory. And they look and say, well, what is Gavin Newsom going to do? He's going to stand lockstep with this radical Biden-Harris administration. And so they understand that they're working together to advance these policies that are not helpful, empowering, and doing anything but continuing on the California being led by someone who is unfit to lead the state and has done a horrible job. He's had over 3 years to get this done, and he's failed. And so that's what's undergirding this recall election. The people of California are fed up.
All right, Paris Dennard, when that lawsuit gets filed, obviously we're going to invite you to come back on the show. We'd like to talk more details about it. Truly appreciate your time tonight, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.